Hey there, hi there, ho there, happy as can be. Mickeymose. Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse. That's all of that song that I know. That's just the intro. And if you're a big Disney aficionado, or if you love Disney World, and you've ever taken your children to Disney, then you know all about Mickey Mouse and Minnie and Goofy and all of that, right? So I promise that I'll keep my day job and not sing to you very often. I just wanted to do something different. So today I have my Yellowstone Dutton Ranch hat that I bought at Wally World in Myrtle Beach the other day when we were on our mini vacation. I love Yellowstone and Kevin Costner and all of that. I kind of wish they'd come out with a new season. And I'm wearing my Frontline Defender t-shirt. Frontline Defender. I'm a passionate supporter of the Second Amendment of these United States. Well, actually, the Second Amendment, it's one of the amendments of the U.S. Constitution. And the First Amendment's important. They're all important. But without the Second Amendment, which provides the teeth that we need to protect all the other amendments, we might be in trouble, right? So that's not the main theme of today's episode. So I just thought I'd say that just in case you wondered. I was talking to somebody today about this 30-day challenge and the YouTube videos I'm doing, one per day. And I thought about cheating. What do I mean by that? Well, I thought about scripting out several days in advance, like I do my podcast episodes, right? And so I could do that and I could record videos in advance. Like I could do 4 or 5 days at a time and just schedule them on YouTube in advance and have one come out every day. And I don't know if that's cheating or not. I might wind up doing that before too long, just so I can kind of keep my promise to do a 30-day challenge on YouTube. But my podcast episodes on my 3 different podcasts, I actually do script out an intro. I introduce the podcast, myself. I have the date and the time for the guest's name, information about the guest that I research on, and then topics and questions that I can ask each guest. And then I have an outro that thanks people for the privilege of their time and listening, blah, blah, blah. And I don't want these YouTube videos to be like my podcast episodes in that I just want a fun format, a more informal, fun format where maybe I will plan topics for each day and then just introduce the topic and just start talking, right? Whatever comes to my fuzzy little brain, my lizard brain. And I want to talk to you from the perspective of a 64-year-old baby boomer. I've lived a lot of life. That's why I have all this gray hair. And I want to share the wealth of knowledge and experience of having lived life for 64 years with you. And so I just want to be able to talk and share my insights and my funny stories and my dad jokes and books that I like to read and have read in my library. And I want to talk to you about, my stand-up comedians that Katie and I like on Netflix, shows that we like to watch and why. And yeah, I'll talk about the Bible and my faith. And I'll talk about just current events and all sorts of stuff. There's no shortage of things to talk about, right? I like to use the word right. It's like a punctuation mark, exclamation. So when I say the word right, just imagine you're reading it and there's an exclamation at the end of the statement. No, it's called a filler word, and I really need to stop using it. Like ahs and uhs and right and all those things that I use to put a natural pause in what I'm saying. All my friends in the Toastmaster organization, which is a organization that teaches people how to speak in public, to do public speaking, and they would probably frown upon filler words, right? Question mark, right? Anyhow, this is my video, and if I want filler words, then what the heck? I'll use them. I really want to get away from using filler words, especially my podcast episodes. Even though Riverside FM has a AI editor, artificial intelligence. It's got an AI editor, and one of the functions it provides is um, removing pauses, removing filler words, and It has a studio level sound editor that makes the sound or the audio tracks sound as best as it can. Right. Right. There we go. I said the word right again. But it gets rid of the echo, any echo that it has, tinny sounds and reverb and all that kind of stuff. It kind of evens the audio track out and makes it sound as good as possible. Studio quality, or as close to studio quality as AI can get it. And I have enjoyed that functionality in Riverside, especially when I have a guest that I'm interviewing that is very soft spoken. They're very soft spoken. They're very soft spoken. They don't speak loud like I do. They're not a loudmouth, but they're very, very soft spoken. And so when I'm listening to the podcast episode, I'm talking like this, all normal and everything, and being a loudmouth, and they're speaking very very low, very soft spoken, and you can hear what they're saying, but you can't hear it very well. You may even have to fight the urge to turn the sound up on your computer or your tablet or your phone or whatever you're using to listen to it. So that's probably the biggest tool in Riverside FM that I really enjoy using. So more on all of that at a later date, because this is not a podcast, this YouTube video, my 30-day challenge YouTube video is not necessarily all about podcasting. I don't mind talking about podcasting because it's a fun hobby, and I enjoy those topics that I speak about on those podcasts because I'm passionate about those topics. You can probably tell that I am in my podcast studio, i.e., home office. I've got my background behind me. I got some sound abatement material over there on the door. I've got my boom microphone, and I've got my lights that are on me that drives away all the shadows. Of course, with this hat on, it actually puts a little bit of shadow on top of my head, but that's fine. I'll just try to look up more. So you'll see my beautiful face, my magnificent 64-year-old face. And I got rid of the goatee, and Katie really likes that. And I think I've had people tell me that I look 10 years younger without it. And that's probably because it's Snow White, right? There's that word right again. Stop. I'm telling the voices in my head to stop doing that. My doctor said I'd be fine. He just didn't tell me when. Anyway, so remember I told you about my wife, Katie, losing her cell phone. So we ordered a new one, paid the $49 deductible, and the company Assurant, ASSURANT, that we pay, I don't know, $10 a month to in case the phones get stolen, damaged, the dogs eat them, run over by a car, or just completely missing in the case of Katie's Android. So I ordered one today, and we should have it in sometime this weekend, hopefully. It got shipped today. Tomorrow's the 1st, so nothing's going to happen tomorrow because the whole world is going to be on pause. Well, all of the United States of America anyway. I don't know. Yeah, I think other people in other countries around the globe do celebrate New Year's Eve and day, because I see videos of different countries like Australia, New Zealand, the UK, blah blah. They celebrate um, the New Year's, the passing of the New Year, passing of New Year's Eve into the new year, 2025 to 2026. I'm saying all of that for my benefit, not yours. And anyway, they're like West Africa is like 5 hours ahead of us, right? And so they're going to celebrate New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, the New Year's Day celebration at midnight, 5 hours earlier than us, which is kind of crazy, right? But anyway, my nose is still itching. I don't know why. I get behind this microphone or in front of this microphone, in front of the camera, and my nose itches. I got to scratch it. So please forgive me for that. So anyway, I told you about Katie losing her phone. It's still lost. Got a new one coming. So I kind of made fun of her, as I always do, about silly little things like that. And yesterday I told you about my glucose monitor, right? This little doodad here. I just dropped it. It's fine. Here it is. See? And it tells me my glucose reading, which is 152 at the moment. It's a little high. But the reason I showed you that yesterday was because I wanted to tell you what a silly person I was. So I carry it with me everywhere I go, and I pull it out of my pocket just to look at my glucose readings to make sure that, it's not ultra high or whatever. It's supposed to be between 80 and 120. That's the average readings for blood glucose. Glucose. I can't say it. Blood sugar. Let's just say sugar. Blood sugar. So I had plugged my blood sugar monitor from Dexcom into a USB cable to charge on my desk. And I had placed it flat on top of the docking station that my Lenovo laptop plugs into, along with all the other external things like the two monitors and the keyboard, yada, yada, yada. Well, I plugged it in to charge and then I promptly forgot about it. So I'm walking to wherever yesterday, bathroom, out to the car, I don't know. I reached into my pocket because it's a habit. This blood sugar monitor from Dexcom checks my blood sugar every 5 minutes and sends the results to the monitor, right? Which beats the heck out of having to stab my finger, prick my finger 3 or 4 or 5, 10 times a day because that hurts. And so it's very convenient as a diabetic to be able to have this Dexcom sensor on the back of my arm. I can show it to you, I think. Maybe. You see it? Oh, yeah, there it is. That little round thing. That's the Dexcom 7. The Dexcom 6, which was bigger, and I had to put it on my stomach. If you're a diabetic, you know all about these things. If you're not a diabetic, you're lucky and you're blessed, and hopefully you'll never have to deal with these things. But anyway, I lost it. It wasn't in my pocket, and I don't wherever I was going, I was like, "Where is that thing?" Because I would have sworn that I had that. And I kind of backtracked in my mind, going to McDonald's, and I was reaching in my pocket for my wallet, my front pocket for my debit card, so I could pay for my breakfast, and I could feel this Dexcom receiver getting close to the top of my pocket, and I remember thinking, well, I don't want that thing to fall out. And so I made sure to shove it back down into my pocket when I put my wallet back in. And so I knew that I had it. I knew that I took it to work with me, right? And so I spent 90 minutes on and off, not a solid 90 minutes, but in between work tasks. I kept looking in places. I went out to the car, got my flashlight out, looked under the seats, looked behind the driver's seat, backtracked to the Spinks gas station across the way where I go get coffee and breakfast or lunch. Went to the bathroom because I knew that I had taken my pants down to go to the restroom, and I figured maybe it fell out there. Well, it wasn't there either. So I'm standing in front of my desk telling my coworker, "Hey, I can't find my blood sugar monitor." And I just happened to look at my desk, and right there on top of the docking station, guess what I found? And I was really happy because you have to have a prescription to even get one from your pharmacy, and they're not cheap. They're like $30 or $40, maybe $50. I don't know. I forget what that. It's not like $5 or $10. It's way more than that. Excuse me. So anyway, I too can be squirrel brained and lose stuff. So I wanted to make sure that I told everybody the story about me being a squirrel brain and losing my monitor when it was plugged in right there in front of my nose. If it had been a snake, it'd have bit me. Have you ever done something like that? Have you ever had your hat on your head and you're walking around and you're thinking, I need to go get my hat? Well, I've never done that. However, I have done that with a watch. It was years ago when I was in my 20s. I had a favorite watch that I like to wear every day. I was going to work. We was living in an apartment up on the second floor, and I had all my stuff for work. Went down to the car, and I was looking for my watch. I was like, "Where's my watch?" Come to find out, it was on my arm. Yes, that was 40 some odd years ago. So I was squirrel brained even back then. I think we just get distracted with stuff. We just have so much stuff. We have way more stuff than people in third world countries. We have way more stuff than people that are homeless here in America. And it's, wow, it's just, it takes me 10 minutes to get all the crap out of my pockets. I come home and I take my keys out of my pocket. I take my wallet out of my pocket. I take my cell phone off my side, take the hat off my head. I take my glasses, my Bluetooth headset, go stick it on the table by my recliner. What else do I have in my pockets? Eyeglass cleaners, little wet wipes that I can clean my glasses with. Which, by the way, I wish I had $1 for every time I had to stop and clean my glasses. I'd be a millionaire. But anyway, so yeah, back to the theory or the practice of if you put everything in the same place all the time, it will always be there. Repeat after me. If you put your stuff in the same place all of the time, when you go looking for it, it'll be there. And you don't have to be a squirrel brain and wonder where everything's at. So that is that story. So today I watched an interview between Billy Bob Thornton and Lee Cohen on CBS Sunday morning on YouTube. And Billy Bob Thornton is one of my favorite actors. He starred on the show Fargo. Fargo is a story about a crime spree that happened, I believe, in Minnesota. somewhere, and back in the 1960s. And it's a true story. And they created Fargo, several seasons of Fargo. The first season, Billy Bob Thornton starred as a bad guy. He was perfect for the part. He was kind of crazy in that part. And I just loved watching him. And today he is playing in this hit series Landman, which is on Paramount Plus. Landman is into its second season. Maybe it's the third season. I don't know. Anyway, we've been watching it. It comes out every Sunday. He plays the role of Tommy Norris, who is a landman in Fort Worth, Texas, in the area of Fort Worth, Texas and Midland, Texas. Cattle country, oil country, back in the 80s, I guess, 80s or 90s, whatever. The story revolves around his job as a landman and now as a president of the oil company he works for, MTEX. And I'm not going to tell you too much about the show because I want you to go watch it. It's really nice. It's really good, really captivating. It's edge of your seat sort of stuff. But his character is spot on. And Sam Elliott plays his dad. Sam Elliott is getting on up in years, maybe like in his late 70s, early 80s. But he plays the role of Tommy Norris's dad. And part of the show is about the drama that is part of his family life, and his crazy wife, high maintenance, rich, crazy wife, and his daughter and his son, who is also learning how to be a landman and has several oil rigs that he runs. And there's an attorney and another young female attorney. Anyway, there's several storylines built into this show, right? Hold on one second. I just couldn't wait another minute without blowing my nose. But I saved you from listening to anything by hitting the mute button on my fancy dancy podcast microphone. It's got a little button here on the side. I can push it and it turns red. You don't hear anything. I'll turn it back on. You hear my wonderful voice. So yes, Billy Bob Thornton is in Landman. And today I actually listened to an interview between him and Lee Cohen on CBS Sunday Morning on YouTube. And it was very interesting. It's only 27 minutes long. If you get a chance to listen to it, it'll be interesting for you to hear about things about his childhood, some of the jobs he held before he became a writer and writing shows. And he's got a band called the Boxmans, I think. So he's a singer, show writer extraordinaire. He's just a real down-to-earth guy. I think I told you the other day that I love listening to night show hosts like David Letterman and Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien, interviewing actors and actresses and singers and stuff like that. And it's nice to listen to the person outside of their acting role, right? There was a show called House on TV many years ago, and the actor, I forget what his name is, he was called House in his acting role as a medical diagnostician or something like that. Him and his team were troubleshooters for people that would come into the hospital with unique diseases, unique symptoms, things that the resident doctors were unable to determine what was going on. So they'd ship that patient upstairs to whatever floor they were on in the hospital. And he was an asshole. He was a jerk. Nobody liked him. That was one of his things that stood out about him. He was great at his job, and if I ever was deathly ill, I would certainly want a doctor just like him. A bedside manners be damned, because he knew his stuff. Saved a lot of lives on the show anyway. Well, anyway, Jay Leno interviewed the guy. I didn't know he was a British actor. He's from the UK, and he had his British accent. When he's on that show, you don't ever hear it. When he's playing the role of the doctor in the house House on TV, he has an American dialogue or dialect. Anyway, he's from Great Britain or UK or whatever, and he has a very pronounced British accent, which I found very interesting. And anyway, he was a real down to earth guy, and it was interesting to listen to him talk about everyday life and how he became an actor and all of that stuff. And he has starred on other shows and movies other than House. House happens to be one of my favorite shows that he was in. It was a sitcom series. Well, not a sitcom. Friends is a sitcom. That wasn't a sitcom. It was just a medical show, right? So let's see. What else can we talk about? While we're talking about television shows that we like to watch, Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. That is a really good show. If you like Sylvester Stallone, typically plays in action flicks, right? I can't think of. Well, he was on Rocky, right? He was on several the series of Rocky movies back in the 70s and 80s. But Sylvester Stallone in Tulsa King is about him getting out of prison. He was in prison for 25 years for killing somebody, and he was part of a mob family in New York City. And when he went back home to New York City, the mob bosses basically sent him to Tulsa, Oklahoma to spend the rest of his days and do whatever he could to make ends meet or what have you. They didn't allow him to stay in the same mob in New York City and be part of the old gang or the organization or what have you. So again, I don't want to send out too many spoilers here, but if you like Sylvester Stallone and you like action, yeah, The Tulsa King is an excellent show. It's a series on Netflix. It's either Netflix or Paramount Plus. Don't yeah, search for it. Google it, whatever. Maybe it's Paramount Plus. Or it might be on Prime Video. I don't know. I have so many streaming services. It's ridiculous. We pay so much money for cable TV, and it's cheaper now than it was because of all the streaming services. People are like, and I did this. I got rid of my cable box because our cable bill is just ridiculous. It was astronomical. And I got high speed internet. I get high speed internet because of podcasting, and I got 1 gig down, and I need high. It's like Tom Cruise, I feel the need for speed. That was one of their statements. And that's the way I am when I get in front of the computer and I'm uploading and downloading big video files. Feel the need for speed. So I pay a little bit extra to get 1 gig down, like 45, 50 megs up. And I'm always pushing 1 gig, 1.5 gig video files for my podcast episodes up to Buzzsprout. And I don't want to do that with slow internet speeds. I just chased another rabbit, didn't I? So anyway, I don't know where I was going with that, but let's get back to yeah, I was talking about Netflix and Paramount Plus and Netflix, Paramount Plus, and Prime Video. That's it. So I turned in my cable box to Xfinity, Comcast, told them I was cutting the cord. The lady looked at me and she had no clue what that meant. She never worked for a cable company. She'd never heard anybody say they're cutting the cord. Well, I cut my bill by 50%. It was half off, which was great because I needed to rein that little monster in. And then, I don't know, 6 months or a year later, I got an advertisement from them saying that they were providing a streaming service for half the cost, or 75% of what I was paying before for cable TV. Well, you still get a cable box. They just repackaged it as streaming, right? You pay for your Xfinity channels, basic channels, and your premium channels, and you have access to all your other streaming services. Well, when I cut the cord and sent the cable box back, I didn't realize this. I had a Samsung 4K TV at the time. When I plugged the internet into it, Samsung actually had its own TV channels, and I was able to watch not everything. Like I couldn't get the local channel 2 WCBD here in Charleston or any of the local channels. I couldn't get those, but I could watch On Patrol Live and all sorts of other things. It wasn't as nice as having cable TV, but I wasn't cut off from the world per se. So that was nice. And at the same time, I was able to use my Amazon stick, that I'd plug into an HDMI port on the TV. So I could watch Netflix, Paramount Plus, Prime Video, Hulu, all. If I subscribe to those streaming services, then I could still watch them, which was great. So anyway, a lot of the things I'll be talking about, a lot of these shows are either on Netflix, Paramount Plus, Prime Video, Hulu, whatever. So just search those. So Tulsa King with Sylvester Stallone. There's another show, a new show that came out it's called Sheriff Country. So Sheriff Country season 1, Marina Baccarin is the sheriff. Her name in the show is Mickey Fox. Matt Lowry, Nathan Boone, he's a deputy sheriff. She's the sheriff. Wes Fox, W. Earl Brown, Christopher Gorham or Travis Fraley. He's an attorney. There's 2 other people on the show, main actors and actresses, and so they're not as popular as Sylvester Stallone or Billy Bob Thornton or anything like that. But it's a new series, and we watch it, and it's pretty good. We like it, and so we've been. I think a new series or a new episode comes out every Sunday. The Closer. We like The Closer. Let's see who that actress is. She's a little bit better known. Let's see where I'm at. So the closer is an American police procedural television show series starring Kyra Sedgwick as Brenda Lee Johnson, Los Angeles Police Department deputy chief. CIA trained interrogator originally from Atlanta, Georgia. Blah blah blah. I'm not gonna read much more of that because I don't want to. Again, don't want to ruin. I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but she is really good in that role. And Kira Sedgwick. Anyway, guess that's how you say her name. And she's relatively well known. She's been in several movies and other shows. I can't think of any off the top of my head. Again, Google is your friend, so you can look all that stuff up. So let's talk about, and I'm sure that there are lots of other shows that we like, and I'll dig some of those up and share them with you later. Oh wow, I'm at 34 minutes already. So let's talk about stand-up comedians, and I watch most of these on Netflix. Kathleen Madigan, I might or might not have told you about her, but she is very, very funny. She's a female comedian, Irish Catholic, talks about drinking. She has a Madigan pubcast. Her pubcast, it's like a podcast. She calls it a pubcast because she has a desk that has all kinds of props on it. People send her beer, ale, wine to sample while she's on the show, and chips, any like snack food items, all sorts of stuff. People send her souvenirs. And anyway, she'll every day she has a pubcast and she talks for about an hour, and sometimes it's like 3 hours long. And I don't have time to watch her pubcast for 3 hours, but she is funny. On a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate her 1 being you suck, 10 being you're out of this world. I'd rate her at about an 8.5 or 9. She's very funny. One of my favorite Netflix specials that she has done in the recent past is Don't Bother Jesus. And I would highly recommend you go watch Don't Bother Jesus with Kathleen Madigan. You're guaranteed to laugh a couple of times during the show. She is pretty funny. Did I tell you that she is funny? Yes, I think I did. Lewis Black is her boyfriend, and he is the angry Jew. That's what he kind of introduces himself as. He lives in New York City. He talks a lot about the pandemic and his experience about being locked in and locked down and wearing a mask and all the different things. And he tours the country. Kathleen Madigan and he do USO tours for our military troops overseas. And Kathleen talks about going to Afghanistan as part of the U.S. tour and funny stuff. Funny, funny stuff. Lewis Black does more commentary about politics. He hates Donald Trump. He hates Republicans. Hates a strong one. He dislikes. Dislikes Republican politics. That's fine. I get it. And it's kind of funny. Some of the stuff he says, he is funny. What late night talk show host has not gleaned tons and tons of material from the Oval Office, right? Think of any president you can think of, and they always come up with some kind of material to make jokes about, right? President Biden, Ronald Reagan, Gerald Ford, George W. Bush, all of them. They all, especially SNL. If you ever watch SNL, they do skits about, the presidents and all the shenanigans coming out of the Oval Office, right? Right. Right. No, yes, right. Anyway, so Lewis Black is pretty funny. He has some mannerisms that are really funny when he talks. And so Lewis Black is, if you've never seen him, I think he's worth watching. He may not be your cup of tea. You may not like to watch him all the time. Like I've never sat down and watched 100 reruns of Lewis Black. And I might have watched 100 reruns of Kathleen Madigan and her Netflix specials. Not 100. That's a little bit more. That's a little bit much. Jerry Seinfeld. He is, bar none, a master of stand up comedy. He is a comedian. You will recognize his name from Friends, which was a long running sitcom back in the 80s, I think, 80s or 90s. And he has several Netflix specials, and they are well worth watching. He is very, very funny, engaging. One of the things I was talking to a coworker today, I was telling him that the thing that amazes me about these stand-up comedians is they have like an hour long set. They go out on stage and they they have their act and they do it, and they go from one topic and one story to another, and it's seamless, right? They don't have little 3x5 cards, which is what I would need. I'd have to have a piece of paper with notes or something. They memorize all that stuff. That's amazing. And maybe people that are in their 30s and 40s and 50s are able to do that sort of thing easier than somebody like me that's 64 that really ought to start taking Prevagen for my brain so I can remember stuff. But anyway, Jerry Seinfeld's, to me, he's a top notch comedian and a great person. Let's see. What else can I talk to you about? A show that a coworker told me about. It's a series. It's got 6 seasons. It's with David Letterman, and it's called My Next Guest Needs No Introduction with David Letterman. It's got 6 seasons. We sat down and watched. I went all the way back to season 1 and watched his interview with Barack Obama and George Clooney. And then there was a Pakistani civil rights activist person who got shot in the head in Pakistan because she pissed off the Taliban and they came after her. She was like 14 years old, 14 or 16 years old, shot her in the head and she survived. And anyway, it's a wonderful show. David Letterman is class act all unto himself, right? He was, when I was a child and my parents were watching The Tonight Show with David Letterman. And I never really watched The Tonight Show because I had to go to bed before The Tonight Show came on TV, regular TV, not even cable. It was regular TV. And now, as an adult, an older adult, I am able to tune into different things with David Letterman. And my next guest needs no introduction with David Letterman. It's a series, 6 series show, and so every night, I'm looking for something to watch. I'm going to go back to that show on Netflix and I'm going to watch another couple of interviews. I just find them so captivating and interesting to listen to these people, these well known people, talk about their childhood, talk about their first jobs, talk about their value system, talk about their politics, their political views, and all sorts of other things. Spirituality. Just think about all the different things that we're interested in. They talk about those things, and you're like, wow, I had no clue. Okay, I got to wrap this up. I'm into 42 minutes, and I really, really didn't mean to make this so long. So dad jokes. Recently, I was on a podcast as a guest called Dad Shenanigans, and it's literally dads talking to this guest or this host, guest dads, talking to the host, and he's interviewing them about being a dad. And you have to wear a hat. One of the things that you have to do is you have to wear a hat, and the hat has to have some sort of significance, either an event in your life or something your child liked or what have you, right? So I wore this stupid hat. Let's see if I can find it over here. I know where it is. It's hanging by the front door, and I'm not going to walk all the way to the front door and get it, but I'll wear it tomorrow maybe, so you'll see it. But I was a guest on Dad. Maybe it's called Dad Hat Shenanigans. Maybe that's what it is. Anyway, you can go to Apple Podcasts or Spotify and look up Dad Hat Shenanigans or just Dad Shenanigans. And the host has a really funny looking bright red derby hat on his head. That's how you know that you've got the right podcast. And anyway, I was able to tell the story about Jessica Ann, who passed away from cancer in August 2001, and the 14-month ordeal treatment journey that my wife and I and our other children walked through, and she passed away after 14 months. So I was able to tell my dad's story about Jessica Ann. And I think it's coming out in February. It's going to air in February the 15th, maybe, of this year. I'm sorry, February the 15th of 2026. Can you believe this is New Year's Eve? This is the 31st of December, 2025. So this is free advice, but don't drink and drive tonight. Catch Lyft, catch Uber, have a designated driver, but don't drive. If you're going to go out and party and you know you're going to drink, take drugs, whatever floats your boat, have fun, celebrate, get hammered, whatever you need to do. Just don't drive, right? Your life is more important, and lives around you are more important. So don't drink and drive. That's a free commercial for you tonight. Don't drink and drive. Stay home, get in your recliner, pretend that you're on a roller coaster, have a beer in one hand and your remote in the other, and just get hammered and happy. I have a friend of mine. I'm not going to mention her name, but she she likes to drink. She goes out partying with her girlfriends, and she'll text me every once in a while, and I'll ask her if she's hammered and happy, and she'll go, "Yeah, I'm having a blast." And that's fine. That's cool. I just hope she's not drinking and driving. I don't think she does because she's got young kids. All right. I just chased another flipping rabbit hole, jump down a rabbit hole. I got to crawl back out of it, dust myself off. Dad jokes, right? That's one of the things you do on that podcast, Dad Hat Shenanigans. You can tell a dad joke. So I'm gonna tell a couple of dad jokes. So the first one is why did the coach go to the bank? Why did the coach go to the bank? I'll let you think about that. Well, the answer is he went to get his quarterback. Drum roll. Get it? He went to get his quarterback. Why did the scarecrow win an award? Why did the scarecrow win an award? Because he was outstanding in his field. Drum roll. What's another one? I'll have to look some up. I actually have a list of about 30 of them. I'll try to tell one or two every episode just to keep you on your toes and get you to roll your eyes and go, oh, that's corny. But anyhow, Happy New Year's. I'll be back tomorrow with some more dad jokes, and I'm going to talk more about some stand up comedians and shows that we like to watch. And maybe I'll talk a little bit about current affairs. And I think on one of my episodes, I might actually read the President Trump's speech. I think he had a 15-minute speech. He addressed the nation or whatever recently. And maybe I can share that with you and we can talk about it. Okay. Well, I think that's about it. That's 47 minutes or 48 minutes now. 48 minutes too long. So I hope you enjoy it. If you like it, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button. For those of you that have subscribed recently, I saw my last episode yesterday, I think. It had 67 views. That's wonderful. That thrills me to no end to know that people are watching these episodes. And I'm doing this so that I can bring some attention, some free advertisement to my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/James Moffitt. So if you're a subscriber or if you recently subscribed and you watch the video or videos, I appreciate that. Thank you. Please drop a line, say hello, tell me where you're from, tell me what you like, what you don't like. If you have some topics you want to hear me talk about, as from the perspective of a 64-year-old baby boomer, I'll be more than happy to try to oblige you. But please subscribe, tell your friends and family about my channel. I have 3 podcasts on there. Every time that I upload a brand new podcast episode at 8 o'clock on Friday mornings, I have an RSS feed that imports all of those episodes into my YouTube channel. And I've got every podcast has its own channel that you can go and you can watch and listen to your heart's delight. All right. Talk to you later. Happy New Year. Bye bye. Bye bye. I'll talk to you next year.